What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bama Standard. As you guys can see here, we got Justin Riley, or Justin, you don't see me now, Riley, and Daniel Petty, the shit stirs, but we're going to call him at this point. So, anyways,
Ready
guys,
for it.
as you guys can see, you're above me. Alabama annual opponents released for the next 4 years. It's going to be 3 teams, and we're going to show you guys all of them, not just Alabama's. But we got to break this down, talk about some things which you guys agree with, which you disagree with, and all that great stuff. So let's go and bring up the graphic, guys. Justin, you will start this down to Daniel, and then we're going to roll over into my opinion. And of course, I'm sure we're going to have some debating going on here. But let's start off first with the Alabama take, and then we'll rotate after we all three go, and then we'll give our overall take of the whole schedule. So, Justin, please take it away and give me your take on Alabama facing Auburn, Tennessee, and Mississippi State every year for the next 4 years now.
Auburn, Tennessee, there's no question that was going to ever change because traditionally those are our two biggest rivals. Actually, Alabama versus Tennessee is one of the oldest rivalries in college football. So those will forever be cemented into college football. Now, swapping out Mississippi State and putting down LSU, that is kind of weird to me because I know Bama fans are going to argue this up and down. But let's face it, LSU, in my mind, has become that third big rival. Yes, I know it wasn't a big deal essentially until Nick Saban came and the two schools were playing each other in a all-out war for the whole shebang. Usually when Alabama faced LSU, something was on the line, not just the SEC championship, but a national championship. So every year it has meant something. Even last year, playoff implications. Alabama back against the wall, must-win game. We go down to Baton Rouge. We absolutely throttle them, and then we stop playing football after that, but we won't go into that. But to me, it's a mistake to remove that LSU game. It's just a part of college football now. Alabama versus LSU at night in Baton Rouge. And from a national perspective, you're looking at the game of the month, probably the game of the year sometime. From a money perspective, man, name another payday that's close to that, really. Mississippi State versus Alabama does not draw in a payday like that. Hell, you might not even see Alabama on ESPN1. You might not even see that game on ESPN2. Hell, let's bring back Jefferson Pilot Sports. We might see it there. It's not a game that's going to put the eyeballs on it. So I just think you really are messing with a good tradition here. And it's one of those things, one of those games, those matchups we really get excited about every year. And you're going to take it away. And for the love of God, you're going to bring back that god-awful cowbell inside Bryant Denny. Nobody wants to hear that redneck crap.
Petty,
I know Petty can feel me, right?
Do you feel better? You get it off your chest there? I absolutely feel your pain. Nobody wants to sit through the 4 hours of hell that is cowbells ringing in Starkville, Mississippi. But I am going to pull a not so fast, my friend. I was telling a buddy earlier today, I felt like there were 7 untouchables, and 2 of those belonged to Alabama. And, of course, that's the Iron Bowl and the third Saturday. Those weren't going to get messed with. However, and I'm going to pull an example from another, supposed kind of newish rivalry. Like you said, Justin, it was the biggest game for a decade. Bama, LSU. It's decided so many SEC championships, but that's just it. It was it for a decade. 70s, 80s, 90s. Nobody cared about that game. Let LSU go dormant for 20 years, and nobody's going to care about that game. But you let Tennessee go dormant for 20 years, and Bama fans still want to beat that Vol ass, right?
Absolutely.
So, and I know fans what they're saying out there, but we don't care about state, Petty. We would rather play LSU, much like you said, Justin. Bigger revenue, bigger game, big nights down at Death Valley. But I'm going to say, man, traditionally that game 40 miles down the road, Starkville is from Tuscaloosa. It is the closest to SEC schools geographically in the conference. Mississippi State, and there is some hate there. They absolutely hate Alabama. You can ask people that have been in the band. They do goofy crap to them all the time when they go to Starkville. And whatever hate that Mississippi State has left in their heart over from Ole Miss, it is reserved for Alabama. And I wanted to point to another rivalry that I said Florida, Tennessee. That's one from the 90s, that was the biggest game in the SEC, but nobody cared about that game because Florida sucked prior to the 90s. Tennessee hasn't been real good for the past 20 years. Nobody cared about that game. That's not on Tennessee's list. They went with Kentucky and Vanderbilt, which are more traditional. Look, I know Mississippi State's not big. I know nobody wants to go to Starkville. But in the grand stream of history, I think it actually makes a little more sense than LSU, even though perception-wise that's a bigger game. I actually think it would have made more sense. LSU and Arkansas, I know there's a trophy, but I'm pretty sure LSU's lost that trophy in a closet a few times. LSU Florida goes back to Steve Spurrier showing up in Baton Rouge with all white uniforms, forcing LSU to wear purple at home. Like the shoe throwing incident. I'm actually kind of shocked that one got left off more than the Alabama. But again, I get it. Because, in the last 15 years of our life, that LSU Alabama game has been the biggest game in the SEC. So I get why there's going to be the shock value, but I also think they got it right. But it's also my understanding that it's going to rotate in 4 years. And in that 4-year time, every SEC team is going to play in every stadium. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think the big piece of this, to give my take real quick, is going to be it's every 4 years. Why? Because teams will get better. Teams will get worse, and they can reevaluate and go through. And the reason why I want to point that out is because there is an irrelevant school, sorry, guys, on everybody's list here. So if you're looking at Alabama, sorry, Mississippi State, you're irrelevant right now. Yeah. Sorry, Arkansas, sorry, Missouri, you're irrelevant right now, right? Until you guys can consistently do something, I'm sorry, there's a traditional game. You're going to play Alabama, Auburn, third Saturday, whatever. From that, I could care less, right? So why? Because if you don't win your damn games anyways, no matter who it's against, you don't get in the playoffs. You don't get a chance to win the national championship. And look, my take, in a couple of years, we're no longer going to see the SEC championship game, I'll say 10, 15 years down the road anyways, when we come into a super conference. So all this is for not most likely, but I'm not going to sit here and cry about not playing LSU, Justin. So
I'm not crying. I'm just looking at it from a fan perspective. But listen, I got no animosity towards Mississippi State. In the grand scheme of things, they're just a blip in the radar. They're like the second homecoming game usually for Alabama. Let's call it what it is. If you're going to put a Mississippi school in there, let it be Ole Miss, because traditionally that game has meant more. It definitely meant more to me growing up here in Mississippi, being a part of a family that were full of Ole Miss alumni. But if you also look at from a national perspective and then a money standpoint, Kiffin versus Alabama. Kiffin versus Alabama is still a hot topic. He has not yet beaten Alabama. There are some storylines there. You're going to have media coverage for days for the next 4 years if you put that in place.
Well, I got a question then. What happens when Lane Kiffin leaves Ole Miss for the Florida job this year? Then what's the argument? People are going to move. Players are going to – we got the transfer portal now, guys. Sorry, but just because Arch Manning's at Texas this year doesn't mean – or DJ Lagway's in Florida this year when Napier gets fired. DJ Lagway could be playing for Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin next year. I don't know what this is going to look like because the NIL and the transfer portal and the one portal window now has changed everything in the landscape of how this could look. Just in a couple of years, Lebby and this Mississippi State team can become relevant. Do I think so? No, I think they're trash. I think they're pretty much always going to be trash. But other than that, I'm just going to leave it at that.
No, I think that's the point. Does any of them shock? What's the most shocking on there to y'all outside of Alabama?
I realize that Tennessee is playing their historic rivals, but again, Vandy's never really been a rival. It's always been that little tune-up game before they went on to play something better. That Tennessee-Florida matchup has always been top tier, regardless of how either team is doing any given year. That's always meant something to both schools. So why take that away?
Yeah, and my takeaway is going to be real quick. The surprise, LSU is playing a lot of 8-4s. Texas A&M consistently 8-4. Ole Miss is now winning 10 games, usually 8-4. Arkansas, Sam Pittman can't do anything anymore. So LSU, besides the boot in Arkansas, I don't understand theirs at all.
I get, well, and that goes to the traditional. LSU and Ole Miss are traditional. The Texas A&M thing is kind of like the Ole Miss Arkansas deal. Prior to the SEC, LSU and A&M used to play each other a lot to open the season. The Arkansas LSU, I'm really dead with you. I don't LSU doesn't care about that game. Nobody cares about that game. I kind of thought they would take this opportunity to kind of get the old Southwest Conference teams in a circle with Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Texas A&M. Seeing Oklahoma pop on Ole Miss's schedule as a permanent was kind of odd to me as well, when I thought it might be Arkansas or Vanderbilt or somebody of that nature. But no, I'm with you. I think LSU kind of got a weird pass on that deal, because Texas A&M is perennial 8-4. Ole Miss, look, shoot, since Lane Kiffin's been there, there's Georgia, Alabama, and Ole Miss are the winningest programs in the SEC. So, and it is that rivalry goes back to the 60s and the Billy Cannon punt returns and all that. So that one makes sense. But like you said, Kiffin leaves, Ole Miss gets out of it. The Ole Miss goes back to normal Ole Miss, and you've got 6-6 Ole Miss, 8-4 Texas A&M, and an Arkansas program that's lost in the damn wilderness.
Yeah.
So, yeah, LSU kind of, if you look at it, kind of got the draw out of that deal. But no, there's the oddities to me were Ole Miss drawing Oklahoma, and I'm with you. The Arkansas LSU trying to force that rivalry still makes no sense when you could have finally broken from it.
No doubt. Any last words before we get off here?
I guess if you looked at the one that made most sense, would probably be Texas. They have all their traditional rivals, all three of them, historically. Yeah. That one is dead on.
Yeah, they nailed that one. Good call, Justin. I agree. They absolutely nailed Texas.
But like Petty said, with Arkansas, swap out Missouri, send them somewhere else, and take up Oklahoma, because, again, Southwest Conference, put those guys back together, man. That's must-see TV.
This is old heads talking, you know what I mean? Really, from our perspectives, we want to see tradition come back to that perspective.
Yeah.
So, Petty, any last words?
No, good stuff. Glad we got to chat on this. I know it was a hot topic throughout the country, and of course the SEC today. Everybody was excited to see who their teams drew. So glad to be here talking with you, fellas.
All right, guys. Appreciate you guys getting on here and watching. Obviously, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, and before I get off here, Auburn fans, keep crying about the Oklahoma game. Please, I love seeing those tears coming down your face. You know what I mean? There ain't no rest being paid off. You just lost a damn game. It's time to stomach it, suck it up, and realize Jackson Arnold is not your answer. Other than that, everybody have a good day. And as always, roll tide.
Roll tide.